Maurice Lane's the name, and as you've taken the trouble to find me again, I'll assume that you might be interested to find out a little more about me. As I said in my introduction trailer, it's taken me 8 years to write the story of my life, and here's just a few of the snippets from it. So sit back and enjoy. Now, where do you actually start when you want to write the story of your life? I know, at the very beginning. Well, I've written down hundreds of notes because I can still remember most things, but I have great difficulty in remembering the sequence of my life. So I hope I'll be excused for using the iconic words of the wonderful Eric Morecambe when I say, I've got all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. I know it's usual to start right at the very beginning, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I think I'll start right at the end, or very near. I'm going to start in 2015, when I was 75 years old. I had just found out that the Chocolate Factory Theatre Company were going to put on the musical Funny Girl with Sheridan Smith. Now, I had the honour of being in the original production of Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand. That was back in 1966 at the Prince of Wales Theatre. And I thought it would be a good idea if I could make this current Funny Girl my swan song, as I was getting on a bit. So I rang my agent, who thank God still remembered me, and asked if he could get me an audition. Lo and behold, he did, and I was asked to go to the Chocolate Factory to meet the director of the show, Michael Mayer, together with the two people who run the Chocolate Factory, David Babani and Tom Siracusa. At the audition, I sang for them the song that I've sung for the last 30 years, Be a Clown. They then asked me to read several pieces of the script and were very charming. One of them, while looking at my curriculum vitae, asked if I'd really been in all these 21 shows in the West End. I said, yes, of course, but lots of people have been in lots of shows. Yes, he said, but not in the original ones. And thinking about it, he was right. I had been very lucky. He then went on to ask me a lot about the original Funny Girl with Barbra, and what we did in this number and how we did in that. We seemed to talk for a long time. In the end, they said, thank you, we'll be in touch, and I left. I called my agent the next day and told him how it went. I said I thought they were more interested in the original production of Funny Girl and Barbra than in me. He replied, no, they were very interested in you, and they have offered you the part of Mr. Keeney. Wow! I was gobsmacked and incredibly happy to accept it. Sheridan Smith, I thought. I thought she was very good and had done so many great things, including the TV show Scylla, which I thought she was fabulous in, and better vocally than Scylla, who I'd worked with on a TV special at the Savoy Hotel many years ago. Rehearsals started. I was really looking forward to meeting Sheridan, but I didn't know what to expect. When she arrived at rehearsal, she was the dead opposite to Barbra. For starters, Barbra came in wearing a beautiful full-length fur coat. Sheridan wore jeans, trainers and a floppy hat. After a short while, she came over to me. I couldn't believe it. She said, Maurice, hi. I can't tell you how honoured I am to be working with you. I didn't know what to say. I think I spluttered something about the honour being all mine and how great it was to be working with her. And it was. Streisand's was a very big act to follow. And I didn't know how Sheridan would do it, but do it she did. And she did it by playing Fanny Bryce as a vaudeville comedian, vulgar and brash, which Fanny was, both on and off stage. When Sheridan sang the songs in the show, she did it in a way which made you listen intently to the lyrics. She was an incredible storyteller. On our first read-through of the show, we all sat in a circle and read the script. Because we had a week's rehearsal prior to this for music, where we had all learnt our songs, we were able to sing them with the piano when we got to them. But when it got to her song, People, Sheridan couldn't sing it in front of us. She was too shy. She stood up and sang it facing the window with her back to us. When she finished, we all stood up and gave her a big round of applause. She just giggled, sat back down with us, and then we got on with the read-through. Hearing the music again took me straight back 50 years to 1966, when Bernard Delfont and Arthur Lewis were putting on Funny Girl at the Prince of Wales. Barbra Streisand had had a huge success with the production on Broadway, so they decided to bring it to London. I found out that they were auditioning for boy dancers, so I went along. I was 26 at the time, and auditions were tough. The American choreographer was Larry Fuller, though the original choreography in the States had been by Carol Haney. Carol had been the choreographer on She Loves Me here in London, which was one of the other shows I had done. Whether this had anything to do with me getting the Funny Girl job or not, I don't know. But I did get it. I remember talking to Larry during rehearsals, and he mentioned that I looked so like one of the boys in the American production. The director was Lawrence Kasher, and we rehearsed in the Dean Street Synagogue. Barbra had arrived at Heathrow with her husband, Elliot Gould, to a lot of publicity. But my first memory of Barbra is the day she came into the rehearsal rooms. She walked in as we were rehearsing. She had a small entourage with her and was wearing this big, beautiful fur coat that went right down to the floor. She looked about 12 and was introduced to us all. I was extremely impressed with the coat. Later on, when I was talking to her, I mentioned the coat, which she then brought over to show me. I can't remember what fur it was made of, but it looked fabulous. She showed us that you could unzip the bottom half so that it became a swagger coat. I then said to her, "Before you leave, I'll give you my address, and when you want to get rid of this, I would like to buy it from you for my wife Sandy." Needless to say, she never did. And thank God, I hate to think what it would have cost. The other thing that sticks in my memory during rehearsals was an incident in the gents' toilet of the synagogue. No, not that kind of incident. Next to the sink was a notice on the pull-down rotary towel. It said, "Please use economically." I never knew what that meant until one day a rabbi came in, stood at the urinal for a couple of minutes, walked over to the sink, turned on the tap just a little bit, put his thumb and next two fingers under the dribble and rubbed them together. Then he turned off the tap, walked to the towel and just dried the same 3 fingers. Now that's what you call economical. All the cast were English, with the exception of Barbra, Kay Medford and Lee Allen, who were American and came over from the Broadway production. Eventually, we moved rehearsals from the synagogue to the theatre, and everything worked quite well. As a company, we all seemed to work and get on really well, though we didn't have any social life together. I think that was because Barbra was too big a star to be social, and a very busy lady. It seemed to me that for a girl who looked so young, she knew exactly what she was doing and was in complete control of her life. For example, every night she would have a meeting with all the heads of departments, musical director, ballet mistress, manager and head of sound, to check on everything and keep it tight. But I found her really nice to work with, though Kay Medford and Lee Allen were very protective of her and was always saying things like, "Oh no, I don't think Barbra would like that." But Barbra never seemed to say anything. Oh, except one time. We had been having trouble with the sound system. It didn't seem right for Barbra, and I think we were now on the 3rd sound system that they'd put in. During one sound check, they were having a problem hearing Barbra when she sang. The sound guy suddenly called down to her, "Barbra, can you just sing a bit louder?" There was a complete hush in the theatre. She looked up at him. He was in one of the boxes, and said, "Can you get another job?" I don't think we ever saw him again, but I can't be sure. The show grossed $630,000 for its run. Mind you, it also put the prices of theatre tickets up to a new high. One of the boys in our dressing room was Keith Lee. He once told us a story about when he was a baby, and I still laugh about it to this day. Apparently, they were too poor to have toys, so to keep him occupied all day, his mother would strap him into his pram, open a tin of condensed milk, stick his hand in it, and then put a sheet of tissue paper in his hand. He would then spend the whole day trying to take it off, one hand at a time, then the other, then the other, then the other. Hearing this story explains a lot about his character and the way he was. Valerie Leon was one of the showgirls in the show. Oh, you will have seen her many times. She was a Bond girl, and in several of the Carry On films. She also did a very popular advert for Brute deodorant with another mate of mine, Peter Ardren. It was later, when the show was up and running, that Chris Blackwell and I were called to the company office. Barbra was there, and the company manager explained that the lift that Chris and I did with Barbra, where we used to sit Barbra on our hands and lift her high up in the air, needed to be changed. This was because Barbra had found out she was pregnant. "I hope you don't mind," she said. "Of course not," I said. "I don't want to be the first to shake your baby's hand." Thank God she laughed. The other bit of choreography that had to be changed was where she jumped on the chaise during the number You Are Woman with Michael Craig. She used to throw herself on it with a plonk, but she changed it to doing it in a much softer way. Michael was ill himself one night and he just collapsed. It was during the number I Want to Be Seen With You. He literally just keeled over. Barbra immediately knelt down to attend him. The curtain was brought down and a doctor was asked for. He soon pulled round, and a little later he was able to carry on with the show. We did a free show on Saturday the 10th of April for all the people working in shows in the West End. Then on the 12th of April we performed a royal charity performance for Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret, raising £10,000 for her Invalid Children's Aid Fund. A little while after we opened, we found out that it was Barbra's birthday. It so happened that my friend Chris Blackwell had just got married, so the management decided to give them a joint party in the downstairs bar of the theatre. It was one of the few social events we had, as we only ran for 3 months because of the pregnancy. It was only Barbra that people wanted to see, as we found out when she was ill one night and couldn't go on. When it was announced that Miss Streisand would not be appearing that night, there was uproar. People got up, shouting, and started to walk out. Eventually, we got the show started, but as Lisa Shane, the understudy, walked on to the stage, the audience booed her. Oh, it was a terrible moment. I don't know how she managed to continue. Suddenly, from the back of the stalls, a voice shouted, "Give the girl a chance!" And miraculously, the audience quietened down, and the show continued through to the end, when she was given a standing ovation. Thank God for the voice shouting out, "Give the girl a chance." It turned out to be Lisa's husband. My lasting memory of the show is me standing in the wings each night during the last week, watching Barbra sing the final number. I knew I was watching something very special. Saying that, I also stood in the wings every night to watch Sheridan sing the same number. Again, I knew I was watching something very special. I just stood there every night and cried. But enough sob stories. let's get back to my story, and the beginning is where we will be starting in my next session. So till then, keep well and be happy. Bye for now.